So, um, to switch cameras on Discord, go to your user settings, cogwheel icon, navigate to voice and video,
Okay.
and select your desired camera from the camera dropdown.
Okay. Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Wait. I've got to.
So, voice and video.
Okay. What the? Oh my fucking
Yeah,
god.
you can change the input and output device on that in that section. I don't know if you've tried that.
On Discord?
Yeah.
Voice and video. Okay. Let's see. Authorized apps. Is that? Let's see. Search OBS. They don't have connections. Maybe. So you can fucking stream directly from this. Okay.
Yeah, because I looked it up and like I said, you'd start virtual camera, and then once you started the virtual cam, you'll be able to select it as a webcam in Discord.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there anything to do? Okay. Wait. Great. Wait. Mm. Okay. All right. So I have to go to user settings, right?
Where are you trying to go?
Oh, okay. Wait. Let me fucking figure out what this stupid shit is saying. Okay. Was it?
Yes, user settings, navigate to voice and video, and then select your desired camera from the camera dropdown under video settings.
All right. So video. Okay. Voice and video. Video. Let's see. No. OBS virtual camera. That's it.
Yep.
All right. Perfect. Done. Okay. Are we? Okay. Connect. Okay. What the fuck is it not connecting? All right.
Already saying your stream is not working.
Yeah. It's such a pain in the ass. All right. Wait. Make it work, dude. It's fucking weird because I get the comments on OBS, right?
Like it's coming through that instead of like what's not working.
Um. Why isn't it connecting to like OBS? Stream setup. Learn more. Okay. Wait. All right. Huh. Okay. All right. Nice.
You want me to ask Boar if he knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. We're just being fuck. I'm just being fucking retarded. Okay. All right. Option one. Easy. Go to settings audio. Okay. Set it to your settings audio. Okay. Settings
And
audio.
let's make sure we run a test too before because I don't want to do the whole thing.
Yeah. On the desktop,
And then
set it to your main device, e.g., speakers or headphones. Right, on the desktop audio. Okay, desktop audio. Okay, perfect. Okay, that's it. Set the output device. Okay. Hey, speakers or headphones. Okay, on the desktop audio. You know. Right, perfect. Okay, apply. Wait, is this? let's see, fucking hell. And then we have to, and then on user settings, video, voice and video. Yeah, it's default. Oh wait, is that something?
Bohr knows he's telling me. He says, you know how on OBS how you can choose what to stream exactly, right? Like the scene.
Yeah, scene, yeah. How do I modify the screen? Okay, I have to add a scene. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, dude, people are talking to you in the live comments. All right, scene test. Now we okay. Add a source. Audio output. Okay. Is it working now? Yeah. Fucking
Is it working?
Yeah, down now. Hessian is streaming. Down devotion. Wait, can they fucking? All right. Add a source. Let's see.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm hearing it through the screen. I had to just mute myself that way I could respond to people.
Yeah, we're making it work. Shit. Something bit. Oh my god. Right, audio capture. Let's see. What else can we use? How do I? Video capture device. Motherfucker. Okay. Wait. Can it capture OBS virtual camera? I'll fucking know. Hey.
Oh, explain it. Well, it's audio.
Yeah, wait, it's not fucking under desktop. Okay, wait. It normally captured the. Okay, right. I have a YouTube stream. Stream that doesn't work, and I'm trying to connect.
Jump off of it. They're saying it's echoing. I don't know why.
Can people hear what the fuck we're saying?
Yeah.
Wait, are we live?
Yeah, people. I mean, you didn't see that on YouTube. Yeah, they just said it's echoing.
Oh shit! Is it echoing? Okay, easy. Okay, Big Billy's eating fried chicken. The fuck? Wait, let me try this stupid shit. Wait. Wait. Is there multiple streams or something? Oh wait, no, it's not top. I want live chat. Ah, good.
I believe so.
Wait. Can people fucking? If someone can hear us, just leave a comment.
I'm fairly sure they can hear us.
Can you guys hear us?
Is the echo on my end?
No, probably not. Wait, let me. Yeah, we could hit. Yes, we could find. It's just now and it was doubling. Nick is fine now. Okay. Can everyone fucking hear us? Peter or someone or whoever, just fucking tell us. All right. Wait, why is Maximus Decimus Meridius saying like nope, he can't hear us? Yeah. All right. Hey, Mac, you still here?
Yeah. It says I'm the echoed one.
Yeah, but on the other Jesus fucking Christ! So there's 2 streams. Oh
Yeah, it says there's Hessian firm live stream and then live stream 1.
oh my fucking god! I made a note. Oh my god! Oh shit! That's the. Oh, now it's. Oh, this is the one. Okay, yeah, now I see it. Okay. Oh, okay. So we are live. Okay, well that was fucking retarded.
This is audio only, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone here. Oh shit.
I was too beautiful to put on camera.
Nah, I mean we just made it. Oh my god, bruh. How the fuck do these autistic like video game kids manage to figure this out in like 2 minutes? All right, so we're on. Yeah. All right, Max.
Yeah, there's not even a test. It's just on.
It's just on. Yeah, exactly. Bro.
Hopefully, I'm not still echoing.
I mean, we're gonna have to get like Peter or someone to fucking confirm or
Did you shut one of the streams down?
Yeah, I did. I shut the other one down.
Okay.
Did I? Okay. Wait. Yeah. Fuck off. Oh, it's up. Oh, it's because it's upcoming. Bro, what the fuck? Oh my. That's why it's being retarded. How do I fucking delete this? Delete forever. Yeah. Yes. Fuck off. Yellow. We're back to this one. All right. Can everyone hear us? Fine. We can't hear. We can hear.
Try lowering my mic. Hold up.
Yeah, check Discord, Mac. It's up to you. Oh my god. All right. Yeah.
Where would my mic be to lower it?
On the wait. Maybe I can do it myself on this thing. User volume. Yeah. Is it all good? Yeah, that was okay. Well, whatever. It's a first time. We learn. All right.
I just hope it's not echoing. I don't want the fucking shit to.
All right. Can someone confirm whether Mac is echoing or not?
Yeah. Just if you can lower it, that'll probably help.
No stream. Yeah, this is going to be an audio only for once, right? You know, because obviously, you know, we just wanted to be a little bit more comfortable and just relax while we catch up with Mac.
That one, I mean, I was good either way, but I mean, yeah. I mean, whatever way works.
Dude, you're still echoing for some reason. Wait, because the other stream is cut off at this point.
All right.
Yeah, still echoing a bit. All right.
Some video. Is it output volume? You want me to lower that? I mean, is that?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna load it around 75. See if.
All right. Yep.
Does that change anything?
Yeah. Fuck it, dude. Let's just get to the. I mean, is Mac still echoing like mad?
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's literally what we're trying to fix at this point. Oh shit. Sound, but no sight. Yeah, Maximus. There's no sight on this one. All right. Yeah. Fuck it, dude. Okay. Echo's still present. Shit. That could be something from like the streaming side. I don't fucking know, man.
Let me jump out and jump back in and see if that fixes it.
Yeah, do that. All right. Is it still echoing?
All right. How about now?
Is it
still echoing?
Yeah, okay, yeah. As long as we don't talk over each other, which we've been pretty good.
Let me see if it's just for me being on like the actual live stream. I got out of that. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah,
and I don't have any fucking earbuds or wireless right now that are worth a shit.
Yeah.
It can't be easy. Like, it just, you know.
Yeah, it's
There's
gonna
a
be
black
something dumb.
cloud. Yeah,
All right, let's get the ball rolling.
sure.
Echo's gone. Sounds good. Yeah, perfect. All right. So you've been away for a long time. You've always been a really central part of things, especially on like the kind of YouTube, the podcast end. First of all, it's great to have you back. And man, I just wanted to know, what have been your thoughts throughout this entire period? Because you had to leave due to various reasons. But what have you been listening
Well,
to? What have you been thinking about?
well, really, I guess I'll describe what um primarily I've been thinking about, and that is when I was kind of starting to feel really weird about myself. Is I was staring down the barrel of turning 30,
Mm.
and I kind of had a nervous breakdown because of it, and I think I really wasn't thinking about much of anything. I was really working primarily on instinct, where I guess I was pulling myself more insular in that. Well, I guess the thing that I was thinking about was like, all right, what have I done with my life up to this point? What do I need to be doing? What have I not been doing? And then piled on top of that are the factors, especially family wise, familial,
Yeah.
around it that compound upon that issue and make it so much worse. I mean, I had a horrific fucking 30th birthday, and uh, just combinations of feelings of, um, I suppose, feeling desolate and then angry on top of it. But I think the other thing was the simple fact of also at the time my with the primary band with Giger, there were a lot of things to iron out with going from a 3-piece that we had for a bit to now a 4-piece with a brand new guitar player,
Mm.
and kind of all the hardships piled on that with the new person. Not that they're an issue or anything like that, it's just the transition, but there were a lot of things. I was thinking about
Hello.
No, I'm here. I was just thinking. I was saying, is what I'm doing valuable? Is what I'm doing meaningful? And it's the same thing. I rose to the same conclusion I always have over the years, which is, even if I made no money, which we've never really made a lot of money, though we've never really gone into the red over anything. Um, we were still some type of successful, but I still came to the same conclusion that what I am doing is meaningful. And it just took me a long time mentally to get out of the mindset of like, oh, now I'm in my 30s. Like, I even skipped the first year. Like, that whole year, I'd Houdini'd from a lot of people in my life, except the people that were very close to me, because inside of myself, it was almost as if I had no choice in the matter. It was almost as if something greater than myself made the decision for me, because that's what was best for me. And I'm really happy to start coming back now, especially finding out, even if it were just, I couldn't put a number on how many people, but even if just one person, anything that I possibly said was made some type of difference, or it mattered to that person in some type of way. I mean, that made it, you know, it made me feel like, especially when you were telling me recently about some of the comments, is like coming back is like, I need to do this, not just for myself, but for other people. But the other, on top of that, when I was speaking about, is what I'm doing meaningful, you do go, and this actually gets more to like our community, just beyond me, but you do have this feeling like, okay, I'm playing a very strange genre of music, which is technical sludge metal.
Mm.
on top of my other band, which is like an instrumental form of death metal. And you're playing with all of these modern hardcore bands, and you feel yourself going insane the more shows that you play with them, and you see the reactions that the crowd give to whatever might be their breakdowns versus our slower sections or even breakdowns that we have. And again, you ask yourself, like, what am I doing? You ask yourself that a lot playing live, especially if you're traveling 4 hours somewhere, or if you're having to sleep over some night, or if like nobody comes to it. You have to ask yourself, like, what am I doing? And it's because of how I suppose that genre, especially now, has affected metal in a way. I would say that modern hardcore is probably the most current successful extreme type of music. I mean, just looked at fucking Knocked Loose.
Yeah, Knock Loose,
Uh,
Turnstile as well, who were absolutely
yeah, well,
huge.
I actually like Turnstile because they sounded more like an old school kind of um hardcore, where they almost sounded like Agent Orange.
Mm.
I'm thinking of the right band. They're not nearly
No,
as
Code Orange,
heavy.
that's the one you're thinking about, yeah.
No. I'm saying Turnstile sounds like the old California band Agent Orange. If you've ever heard that band,
Nah, dude. Nah, I haven't.
they're really cool. They were on the soundtrack to The River's Edge. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I don't think I have.
This is a pretty important. Real quick, I won't speak on it too much, but River's Edge is a pretty important movie in that, like, it was one of Keanu Reeves' first movies. Incredibly dark movie about this high school guy that ends up choking to death this girl, and goes back to his group of friends and brags about it. But the soundtrack was really important because it was provided entirely by Metal Blade at that time, and that was the first time I'd ever heard um, any of the Show No Mercy era stuff from Slayer, and then a song called Lethal Tendencies by a band that's actually from my state, Hallows Eve. And it's a really dark, nihilistic movie, and the songs were perfect over it. But it was like a Metal Blade provided soundtrack. It came out in '87, and I always thought that was cool. But no, I was mentioning, I guess Turnstile reminded me of almost like if you had like a surf punk band. But yeah, no, incredibly huge. But I just think of age, or I just think of Knocked Loose, because I mean, you just see what I mean, the reactions of people when they hear those particular riffs and breakdowns, being on like fucking Jimmy Kimmel and stuff. So you do have uh you second guess and even third guess yourself and wonder why you're doing what you're doing, but you'll have moments where it's kind of like the veil is lifted a little bit, and you'll see like, oh, this is important what I'm doing. And I can go into that later with a particular story, but yeah, no, and then you asked also what I'd been listening to lately.
Yeah.
I go in obsessions. I don't know if you do this as well, where it's almost as if a band will like latch onto you like a virus, and you'll be obsessed with them for months on end. And so I have to learn everything about them. And that band, for me, that's been that way for me for a while, is Sabbath from UK.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we
History and
talked about that.
history. Yeah, sorry, Dreamweaver and History of a Time to Come, and then they have the third one, which is like the Martin Valkyra like controlled one, which wasn't so.
No, he's not on that.
Isn't? Oh, damn.
That was the whole thing. Is
Yeah, he
like,
left. Yeah, he left to form Skyclad. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Because
mhm.
Andy Sneap. Yeah, it was Andy Sneap, right? Who told him that? Yeah, he was against. Yeah, he didn't want to do folk.
That specifically, like, he didn't want to do the folk element stuff, and it's kind of ironic, but this first Skyclad album is actually pretty good and pretty heavy. But I even checked out the third Sabbath album, and it's kind of weird. Like they take it into an almost like progressive territory. There's a lot of, but there's still a lot of really cool imaginative stuff. I would say all three albums, but obviously like the first two are, I mean, incredibly imaginative, creative, and done by people that are young, like 19, 20 years old. Another thing that you think about is like, holy shit, these people are doing it at that age, and I'm still 30, and I haven't put out, things that I'm proud of on that type of level. But it was a different time period, and pre-internet and things like that. And when you get together with 3, 4, 5 other dudes, like that's what you did, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You'd get together, rehearse, drink, and do drugs, party, and keep doing that over and over and over. But eventually, write a whole bunch of really great stuff. But Sabbath's been the primary listening lately. I just started getting into the new Imprecation EP, which is Ruben Elizondo's swan song for that band, and it's actually better than any of the post reunion albums that they've done. Like it actually sounds like Imprecation sounded on Thursha Goesha Suma. I might have gotten that mixed up wrong, but it actually sounds good and evil, because that fucking compilation, it's on the same level as like just Infester, Sinister. And then back when I was really, really sick, and I'll get into that too, all I listened to like over the winter was In the Night Side Eclipse. But I mean, I jump into. It's rare that I listen to anything new, and if it's new, it's still from somebody old. I could try to think of like some new artists. Like I'd found one I kind of like called Unbirth. But it's rare, and I listen to a lot of new labels. I especially on YouTube, I'm subscribed to a ton of new labels, and I'm hoping that when I hear something, it's like, oh, good, finally something that I'll want to listen to. But would you say that, I mean, is it like that for you running a label?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I'm very well, whether I want to or not, I'm always confronted with new music, right, on my end, right? And obviously, I know you guys. For a while, I'm not sure if you still receive them. I used to send you guys all the fucking promos.
Yeah,
dude, there's no way I can listen to all of them. And just sometimes just by looking at very quickly the biography. I know it's sad to say never judge a book by its cover, but come on, man, it's like sometimes it's way too fucking much.
You only have so much time in the day, and not only that, you only have so many seconds in your life, and they can't be spent listening to the millionth fucking like one-man black metal band who's gonna reinvigorate the genre because they've added something really fucking stupid to it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I actually recorded with actual pots and pans.
Exactly. I mean, it's not even that, dude. But it's just like there are certain keywords which I see them, they're automatically disqualified. Despite for example, if it says for fans of Dismember, Entombed, Gatecreeper, that's like straight away. And it's not to insult those guys or anything, but do we really need those riffs in 2025?
I can't imagine being influenced by Gatecreeper and actually putting that down and being serious about it. And I know that probably would. I hope this doesn't necessarily get out too much. That would ruin a tour for me. But it's just really difficult for me to imagine not going right to the source where you mentioned like Dismember and Entombed. I mean, they almost kind of go without saying. It's almost the same type of thing where it's like, there's a reason that we don't necessarily talk about Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Judas Priest, or any of that. All that stuff should be a given. You're supposed to listen to that stuff. But we're at a point now where all of the bands like Dismember and Entombed, that should also be in a way a given. Like you needed to have listened to those albums, but putting Gatecreeper down and being like, no, yeah, like the what is it, Sonoran Deprivation, like that was my album.
Yeah.
I can't relate, but
Yes. So yeah.
I can't imagine doing what you do with just like like you get a promo in and then you have to listen to it. I mean, do you ever? I don't know. This is kind of a loaded question, but I suppose I'll ask: do you actually ever really listen to a lot of these things all the way?
No fucking way. Not in a million years. Not in a million fucking years, man.
Okay, I'm really glad you were honest about that because I could not imagine like, oh, I can't wait till I just get through with the end of it. You just got to do like a fucking Mick Harris used to do in Napalm Death, and that's just like throw it out the window of a moving van.
That's perfect. Wait.
Because that's what he used to do to like he did that I think to he dude, you wanna know who he did that to?
Who?
At the Gates
What?
on Red in the Sky is Ours. Yeah, like he was you gotta first off, he was done by 91. Like he was Ryan cooked as a crisp, dead ass done by that point. But yeah, no, he legit threw out either that or the EP.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
You know what? So Big Billy Strikes Back. So yeah, that's the Bun Bun Boys recordings, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He said something really interesting. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, no one actually sounds like Dismember, and that is actually really true.
Yeah, because Dismember, and it took me a long time before I kind of like got it with Dismember. There is almost this misconception. It's like, well, okay, it's this Swedish death metal sound. It's like it is, but it isn't. What it really comes down to is that Dismember are heavily influenced by Autopsy. They play in the same tuning. They have a lot of the same type of feeling, but just reinterpreted in that kind of Swedish way and put through an HM2 to where it's a little bit faster. It's not going to have as much, of the slow, creepy, haunted riffs, and you're not going to really get as much in the way of like a pentatonic riff either. Where Autopsy was influenced by Black Sabbath, Dismember. If I've always thought about this, or thought of these two bands in this way, Entombed, were almost like a hardcore band that were influenced by death metal that kind of made death metal, but Dismember were true blue and still are. They are a metal band,
Yeah.
like legitimately. But yeah, no one. I'd completely agree. Like nobody really sounds like Dismember.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Dismember is Autopsy plus Iron Maiden. Yeah, that really does make sense. In that the punk influence that the others had wasn't so pronounced in Dismember.
No, and they weren't. I mean, because those guys weren't putting blood all over themselves and getting in trouble with the fucking, authorities and having, their EPs and shit like that being rated at earache. These guys were extreme.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you like the second album?
It's a mixed one for me. It has two. I mean, for me, for Swedish stuff to work, it has to kind of like know how to control its like bounciness, and it's a lot of its chugga chugga it's rock and rollisms, right?
I think what you just said really needs to be applied to a broader sense. Like I think we need to have some laws against bouncy riffs, and again, laws against rock and roll influence to the point of making something as trite as death and roll.
Yeah, but something's interesting. So when I interviewed what's his name? The singer from Necrophobic.
Oh shit.
I forgot his name. Oh my god, he was a great singer as well. But he said something really interesting to me. He said, all those guys, because they all knew each other, right? Necrophobic were a bit younger than Entombed, but they knew everyone. I think they were all hard rockers, right? At
Yeah.
heart, you know what I mean? It's just that a lot of
Oh
them
yeah.
didn't feel that they were quite as good enough to play hard rock. So death metal and hardcore is what they defaulted to. But yeah,
That's really interesting considering the sometimes complexity of death metal and the endurance that it takes. I've also played hard rock, and there is an almost like it's deceptive how difficult it can be sometimes. But God, that sentiment a lot of the times it does bother me. You know what I mean? Like defaulting to metal because it's easier when in a lot of cases it's not true. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I'm saying, I see nothing wrong with it because we've seen in the past and we keep seeing it. Most bands aren't lifers, right? Death metal isn't like a thing for lifers. Either you kind of end up making the same shit for the next 30 years, or you just kind of like fizzle out pathetically. So I have no issues with guys being like, hey, look, this is my state of mind at this very particular time and place, and I'm going to make my best out of it. It's like Max Cavalera said it really well, and I think the issue is that he never followed through. For him, death metal was a transition to the roots rock and the reggae he grew up with, right? And I see absolutely no fault with that. We don't need guys to be within metal. Look at Henry Vegian, from Revenant. He's completely, fine in life, and he quit while he was really ahead.
Oh yeah, he bowed out on top with the material that they put out in that particular band because I mean they were by the end I think it was with those EPs they were like incredibly ambitious with what they were doing. John McEntee would have definitely fucking hated what they were doing had he stayed in the band at that point because it's even more like out there than the album. And I've actually read a lot. It's weird that you mentioned him. I was thinking about that guy the other day. I remember I read an interview once with him where he talked about where he teaches at college that he's had students like he had a couple students come in once that kind of knew who he was, but primarily they listened to metal. And he says something to the effect of, if you need to come to my office and throw on Hell Awaits by Slayer and to like listen to it because it helps you, I get it. Like he said something like that. He you're right, he bowed out gracefully. He did the right thing. There are a lot of people that have definitely not done that.
Yeah. Damn. Oh, yes. So the Bun Bun Boys are saying, yeah, the weirdo Finnish death and roll stuff, as well as like Tiamat, is as like I don't consider it to have anything to do with like what the Swedish guys were doing in death and roll, right? Because those guys were really fucking experimental and really interesting. The Zismas, Lubricant, Convulse's later stuff.
I've not really ever thought about when I think of death and roll, which is not often, I think my mind actually immediately goes to like 6 Feet Under. That's the first thing that I unfortunately think about. Besides that, I mean, the big one was like Wolverine Blues, which was kind of more of a weird hardcore album with these shorter kind of songs and the fact that they got on like MTV and with a like 2-minute music video with Wolverine in the fucking music video. I don't think about death and roll though. This is gonna piss off a certain group of people, but I can't stand the band Midnight, and it's because I have personal biases against that band. But I know like fucking J Dog loves Athenar, and that band But man, when it comes to Death and Roll, I fucking hate that band.
Oh yeah, dude. I find them really boring. Um, it's this really
Just listen to
specific
me.
vibe. There is one like completely derivative and anachronistic. You know, in the sense like it's like how like 5-6 years ago you had a bunch of guys born in the 90s and the 2000s making synthwave and feeling nostalgic for the 80s, something they never fucking knew.
Yeah, John, nostalgic for a time period that they didn't live through. Yeah, that I mean, for me, it's always just listen to Venom whenever I think about something like Midnight. But no, yeah, there is this almost stereotypical um, character that this person is playing with this kind of like motorcycles, beers and tits type of atmosphere that a band like that would actually, you know, put out purposely.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet like they don't even know like a lot of those bands who influenced a lot of that black, like the original black thrash stuff. Sodom were obsessed with fucking Tank of all, of all bands and everything, and Tank was incredibly influential on that early scene. And then look, like obviously, if you listen to Tank now, you'd be like, what the fuck are you on about? But you listen to Tank, listen to the first Sodom, listen to Poison from Germany, and you'll see that. And like Midnight just don't they fucking get that. They've got this kind of like uh Motorhead speed metal madness, whereas fucking Lemmy never considered himself metal.
And there is a distinction between the type of, I suppose, rock and roll influence that was on something like Midnight, and then the difference with Motorhead. There's a sincerity that you get from Motorhead that you don't really get from other types of people. For other types of people, it's just cool and fun to play that type of music. But for Lemmy, it was like his life practically like depended on writing an album practically like every 2 fucking years. Like unto his death. I mean, he is the definition of a fucking life for him. He fucking died doing it.
Dude, what was that song he did? There was a song where Brian May, because as everyone should know, they were very good friends, and he had some great live moments with Motorhead. But there's this one song that they co-wrote, and that's like the first time I ever heard like Lemmy was gonna die. Like he knew that like the last one was there, and he fucking went out with a bit of a bang, to be honest. Not a whimper.
With Brian May?
Yeah, on the last album he did. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Brian May used to play the Killed by Death solo live. Well, his own interpretation of it quite a few times.
Oh, I didn't know. I might. Did he play the original one on that song?
I can't remember.
Oh, I'm looking that up because that was a Bad Magic. That album.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, okay. On The Devil. That's the song he played on.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I actually didn't know that. I knew that Brian May and Tony Iommi still have a huge connection, which I've always thought was really cool. Anytime that any of those older bands like Led Zeppelin or any of these other bands actually give props to Black Sabbath, which they should, that makes me happy because a lot of people look down on Black Sabbath when really, I mean, especially with the Tony Martin era stuff, like Tony Iommi kept reinventing himself over and over again, where he could have just like stayed in the like, super slow single note riff type of thing. But he was influenced by newer guys like Eddie Van Halen to actually do some, at least I suppose, faster in his case, but mid-pace stuff. But yeah, no, and Queen has always had kind of like a connection to metal. Freddie Mercury and Bruce Dickinson were like such good friends that Freddie had invited Bruce to multiple of his parties and stuff like that, and they ended up. Iron Maiden wrote, one of the songs off of Fear of the Dark for Brian when he died. Oh, not Brian. For Freddie when he died. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think you listen to a lot of like the kind of, the cutting edge, the kind of hard rock from the like late 60s, early 70s. And because those guys was so close to pop, prog, classical, and everything, they all ended up becoming friends, and like I think they all kind of there was like certain camaraderie because one, every band had such a distinct identity. For the most part, they were British, generally from like working class environments, but who made it big. And the amount of crossover is absolutely insane, man. It's like, Michael Jackson with Freddie Mercury as well, on like a much more pop oriented kind of way, or even Eddie Van Halen doing the Beat It solo for free.
Yeah, he regretted that. Oh my god. I would that's probably if I were Eddie Van Halen, like, yeah, I would definitely have drank as much as he did at the realization at how much money he lost doing the fucking Beat It solo. If you could somehow retroactively have your family's name be put on Thriller, you never have to work. Your
Yeah.
children would never have to work. But no, getting back to what you were getting at, all of those bands, what was so cool is they were all very, for the lack of a better term, incestuous when it came to the bands that they were in. I mean, they all were in like trading members with one of another. I mean, fucking Tony Iommi was in Jethro Tull for a minute, and that made it into a movie that the Rolling Stones put out. And so a buddy of mine sends me this like footage one day, and he's like, Tony Iommi is randomly in a movie that the Rolling Stones did because that small moment where he was in Jethro Tull got filmed. And it's really fucking weird. Like, imagine Tony Iommi playing a Strat, no mustache, and he's in Jethro Tull for a minute and a half in a Rolling Stones movie. It's very fucking strange. But there's even stuff like, people have always wanted to hear, there's a version of Supernaut that has John Bonham and I think either John Paul Jones or even Robert Plant doing it with Black Sabbath, which was really cool in the studio while they were doing, I think Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath or something like that. But they were all trading members, and it was kind of like a huge kind of family at that time of like the beginnings of heavy metal from the seed of hard rock. But yeah, no, those and Lemmy was there too. I mean, obviously being in a band like Hawkwind, and you'd mentioned the fact that at that time, the other two most important aspects to the beginnings of metal, in addition to the hard rock stuff that was going on, the any type of electronic music that was going on at that time, combined with a lot of the things that were going on in Prague, ultimately ended up in early parts of metal, though it doesn't necessarily sound like it. It does later, where you can clearly hear the influence a prog band or even a band doing electronic music has on metal later.
Yeah, I mean, even a lot of soul stuff, I can't remember. I think the guys from Black Sabbath in the mid 80s were like, yeah, we don't really listen to metal, We just listen to a lot of soul
Well,
and jazz.
yeah, I don't think any of those early metal dudes. They did. Even Tony Iommi still doesn't really consider himself a metal artist. He calls what he does heavy rock, and that's the type of genre that he likes. And it's come out of both blues and hard rock. And then obviously it's always been talked about, but the influence of classical music, which that's very true, especially considering something like, and this may not necessarily be classical, but Gustav Holst literally helped birth the Black Sabbath riff. But where was I going? Yeah, no, those guys. I try to think about any of those old dudes that actually embraced heavy metal, and then not only that, started actually listening to it. I suppose Rob Halford of all the guys, because he claims to listen to a lot of metal bands, and he's mentioned Emperor, and he's wanting to do a black metal band and all this, other stuff too.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
But all those dudes, like, you're right, they weren't listening to uh other metal bands. It was just something that was coming out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Judas Priest, they're the really weird one because they are
Yeah.
really old, right? They've been around what early 70s. Rock and roller was like what 74.
They've been around since like '69, actually.
Yeah, and you think about what is like incidentally their prime is 1990 when they just fucking for some reason decided to go, all right, we've got all these extreme metal guys, oh, this Slayer stuff, okay, we need to show them how it's done properly.
A lot of people would disagree with you in saying that 1990 was not their prime. You have a lot of different guys that would say the mid to late 70s is their prime. Then there's other guys that are saying like the early to mid 80s is their prime. I think 19 with Painkiller, I think what that was kind of like a swan song in a way. Like it was the close of a chapter on like the book of Judas Priest at that time. And they went out on a truly amazing record that, depending on who you ask, is the best Judas Priest record, but obviously one of the best. And yeah, but a lot of people don't really realize that they were experimenting with that sound as far back as Defenders of the Faith, which Defenders of the Faith is one of my favorite Judas Priest albums up until like the last 2 or 3 tracks, and then it's some of the worst music that they've ever fucking put out. The one of the worst songs that they ever did is on Defenders of the Faith, which is fucking a bonus track that they should have never released called Turn On Your Light, which is just fucking terrible. But I, in a weird way, Priest almost like at their most like powerful or most popular seems like '86 with the Fuel for Life tour. But yeah, no, they definitely were taking stock of the rest of the metal scene. They were paying attention, and they get, Scott Travis in, and this guy can play a lot of like really fast stuff, being from Racer X, and it's kind of like this weird thing where they were influenced by metal that was going on at that time, but then they make something that's incredibly influential to everybody, which is this almost like brutal form of heavy metal or even power metal, because there's an extremity to a song like Painkiller that you could even hear missing in some of the extreme death and black metal that you can hear. It's a fucking heavy fucking track.
I mean, all of it's heavy.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, even Halford's voice. I don't think this is where you can tell his like higher end starts to fall off, and so he kind of replaces the kind of really clean, almost operatic voice with this kind of like very nasally and in your face scream.
He's having to add a lot of distortion, and when I mean distortion, I mean actual vocal distortion to his voice, where before he had one of the most ridiculous ranges vocally in music. I mean, go and listen to Here Come the Tears, Dissident Aggressor, Dreamer Deceiver, into the song Deceiver.
Blood Red Skies
There's
as well.
Oh my god. Yeah.
You'll never take
Yeah. They will never take me alive. That part is fucking ridiculous, and the fact that they even try it now is just like they need no. Like, I don't care how low you try to make that song in tuning, he is not gonna hit that shit. He has to like bend over, which I'm sure he's used to, but he has to
Oh my god.
like bend over backward practically to get those notes out of him at this point. I don't know if you've seen Judas Priest now.
Yeah, when he's walking around with the cane and everything, and you can tell he's like giving it his best.
Bruce made fun of him. Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden made fun of him because apparently at one point recently, or I don't even know how recent, but he had to have a teleprompter on for breaking the law,
The
like to
fuck?
remember the lyrics.
Jesus fucking
And
Christ.
I'm like, does he have like early like onset Alzheimer's, or like is he senile? Like, how did he forget that? I mean, I suppose maybe words in your head become um just like mush after a while, because there's that effect with the human language where if you said a word enough times, it makes no sense. But yeah, no, by the time he was doing Painkiller, that was heavy distortion on his higher range, and it probably destroyed a lot of it, because that stuff is not easy, and it's not easy on your vocal cords. I think at one point he was receiving steroid injections for his vocal cords.
Yeah, dude, because he had like well, unironically, a painkiller addiction at one point in the mid '80s. He was like
Oh yeah, that
taking.
was he it, he had that, and his live-in boyfriend at the time killed himself.
Jesus Christ.
And then that's when he got clean in like the mid 80s. I mean, it was the 80s, so I mean, if you weren't doing coke, you weren't doing it right.
Mm.
Um, one of the people that I worked with at this guitar shop apparently got propositioned by Rob Halford in the 80s.
I mean, dude, I know he tried to proposition Paul Diano while they were drinking together at one point.
Oh, I imagine that did not end well.
No, apparently Paul was like a very relaxed guy. Like apparently he treated her
Yeah, no,
very
you're
well.
right. Yeah, like it's probably just like, I'm flattered, but no, thank you.
Yeah, he was like chill. Like
Everybody probably knew that,
they,
too.
I don't think they really cared. It was just more like, all right, cool,
No,
bro. I'm not interested, but hey, let's finish these beers up and like, what are you planning to do this summer? You know, and just like back to to normal conversation.
that I mean, and that would have to be a while back, because Rob moved to Arizona, and that's where he's lived for a long time now.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was when Diano was still in Maiden. So yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be that. Yeah, it's gonna be fucking. And when he was alive, 45 or 44 years ago. Rest in peace to Deanna. That one really. That one. I remember the day that I found out that he had died. That one bothered me a lot.
Yeah, same. You know, I think his legacy in Iron Maiden is, I know it's cheesy to say it, but it's still fucking underrated. You know, as much as I love Dickinson's voice, um, I just think that Diano was the better influence for like power and heavy metal.
Well, there's a lot of people that are always going to maintain that Killers is the greatest Iron Maiden album, and in a way, it is, and I get it, because it's just that lineup was only around for one fucking album, but it was perfect down to the last minute detail. And yes, I just quoted the boys, but um, yeah, Killers. Oh, I mean, I remember I remember. What's your favorite Diano era song?
Oof. Oh, that's a hard one. So let's see. Okay, I'll go for like an obvious one. So obviously the Killer's title track.
Oh yeah,
But there's one that never. Well, it only appears on the reissue, and that's Twilight Zone.
that's a crazy fucking song, because he sings super high on that.
Yeah, I mean, people
He was
forget, like,
showing his
dude, I will always. People are like, oh, but even Diano, I don't know, maybe he got retarded with time, but he was like, oh, I was never an opera singer, dude. You listen to Killers, songs like Prodigal Son, like, dude, this guy was like definitely doing a lot of stuff that Bruce Dickinson would do with Iron Maiden, and he was capable of hitting those notes.
yeah. It's I don't know what I think. Steve Harris probably pushed Diano real hard, because he probably pushed Diano to do a lot of that stuff. and he wasn't comfortable doing it, but he could still do it.
Dude, he does it
And
fantastic. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Big
uh,
Billy mentioned Purgatory, another great performance by Diano.
yeah, I was thinking that my favorite though, and it's the one I remember I put on the day that he died, was Strange World off the first album.
Oh, that's a beautiful song.
Yeah, and uh, it really does kind of feel that like that in a lot of ways. That's where he went, hopefully. But he had been sick for so long too, which was so sad. And apparently, I guess like he'd actually met Bruce Dickinson like right before he died, which was interesting. Like they'd never met in over 40 years, but they finally did, you know, a month or a year before, not a month, but months or a year before he had passed. But um, it was sad to definitely watch that dude kind of fall apart.
I mean, his kind of breakdown has been documented, and it is full of some of the most insane and ridiculous things that would make a very cool, like, good comedy. You know, Paul Diano for a long time was on disability benefits for being in a
Oh, I
wheelchair.
don't know that.
The guy
Yeah,
was standing up during concerts. Like, it didn't like it took them like somehow took them a few years to figure out, like, wait, this guy isn't actually disabled.
well, he was at the end. Like by the time he was at the end of his life, he wasn't faking that.
Yeah, no, not at the end, but like at earlier points in his life, dude. And there are a lot of weird stories in the Paul Diano saga, and it's really sad to say, but I think he never got over the fact that he got kicked out of Iron Maiden. He saw what Iron Maiden became, and he saw what he became.
Well, the thing that like for me, it's almost like hard to believe is like when you hear about what he was doing during those shows where he was basically saying he had stage fright and he didn't want to go out or sing those songs or whatever. I mean, he had definitely like self-sabotaged himself. And he that probably was a lot of the issues. He had nobody else but himself to blame for what happened and why he wasn't on stage with them. But he had tried to do other bands that definitely um I don't know, like I've never really listened to anything that he did other than Maiden. I've heard some of his solo stuff is good, but he had bands like fucking Gog Magog. There was one where he was in a band with Dennis Stratton, who used to play for Maiden. There was Paul Diano's Battle Zone. Uh, and it was always like much more hard rock oriented. It was not as heavy, which kind of tells me, I guess, that that might have been something he wasn't comfortable with either, or that he liked.
Yeah.
But
He loved being Latino, even though it seems like it was a fabrication. Yeah, dude, it was. He was never Italian or anything. His name is Paul Andrews.
yeah, he's a guy with like a Cockney accent.
Yeah, dude, I know exactly that area. He's from fucking East London.
Yeah,
He's like the typical guy from there.
yeah. I think they said that he was basically, a geezer, and that like he was just this ballroom brawl type of dude. That's why his hair was shorter. Was because he was this guy that, in a way, funnily enough, was kind of dangerous. But Steve, he's always been the locomotion behind Iron Maiden, and he was not gonna let that keep him down or be in the way or anything like that. And then you just have the fucking from that point forward, you have 6 years of just like the craziest roller coaster ride ever. That being that era of Iron Maiden. But yeah, Killers will always be special, and he's always going to be like a meaningful um, figure. Let me ask, do you have other questions? Because I know that I get off on a tangent a lot, but I do want to make sure if you do have a lot of other questions, or if other people have questions about anything, I'll answer anything. If you want stories or,
Well, I mean,
things that I can offer as advice or anything like that. I was sick this year, and it was really bad.
yeah, bro. I mean,
But
as we said, this is Macaulay's return, man. You can talk about whatever the
sure.
hell you want. It's relaxed. But yeah, should we go? Should we take a 5 minute break?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'll just leave your stuff on. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna mute myself for a second.
Hello.
Yep.
All right, we back. Okay, good, perfect. On time, 5 minutes. All right. So we went through the whole kind of like heavy metal thing. So what else has been on your mind?
Been on my mind. Damn, that's a loaded question. I think obviously progress when it comes to both of my bands.
Mm.
Um, both of me as well as a lot of other people around me have been just getting our asses kicked by life lately.
Mm.
And I guess the way that I can sum up what's on my mind is wondering when and this is the way that we kind of word this, not when things are going to be good, like not when the roller coaster ride starts to get good or anything again. We just want nothing to happen.
Mm.
Like one of the tracks that we have is called the one of more the later more difficult tracks is called Good News, which is a phrase from the movie Robin Hood Men in Tights. No, there's no news like good news. And uh it's kind of like reversed to us where like we just don't want anything to happen because we uh we would just continually be dealt shittier and shittier hands. Like last summer it was really difficult to rally with a lot of the things that were going on, and especially with my other band Predation, where the longtime bass player left, and I've already had to like pick up the pieces multiple times before where we'd lost all of the data for when we were actually recording, or not even recording, but we were tabbing out our songs and then putting drums over it to and we'd even finished one and we were on to the second one. We lost that, but it, there's this process, and I was like, okay, well, I've got to get the keyboard player who also plays bass in my other band now to play bass for this one, and to just pick ourselves up from that, which is difficult because that one kind of, unfortunately, to say it stays on the back burner because Giger's the main band. And one of the good things that happened was we did get our old guitar player back, and so now it's like a 3 guitar player band, which I'm like one of only a few people that's insane enough to fucking do that. To try to coordinate 5 people, including 3 guitar players, to be able to play this music. But you know, we'd gone through the ringer when it came to like getting sick. I got really sick earlier this year, sicker than I've ever been in my entire life. And then pets getting sick, like 5 fucking pets at the same time. All got like deathly ill. Like just 5 animals are about to have to be put down. And it's pretty fucking insane. Like I was thinking, I'm like, is there something in the water that we're drinking that's doing this? But I guess what I'm thinking is it's always just kind of, for me, a lot of the time, the thing that I always look forward to every week is waiting for the weekend to be able to get together with the guys and we can work on this stuff, even if it's only for like a couple of hours. And that's how it's always been for years. But other than that, when it comes to my life, um, just establish like getting back to all the stuff that I was doing, but even more so. Um, on my mind, other than that, I suppose I could say, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think about, from like the really inane and stupid to in regard to like some of the things that I look at on the internet, to thinking of like really weird, kind of funny situations, to getting really existential and spiritual, and uh, trying to figure out um, things that I believe or what I believe to be true, or things that I don't think are true. Especially when it comes to religion, I've had many a time in my life where I've had almost like existential crises when it came to belief. I remember, I remember at around 6 years old, I had my first 5 or 6 years old. I had my first kind of crises, and a lot of people do have this. And there's even a saying in um, the Crow movie where it was like, a boy becomes a man the day that he knows and understands that he's going to die.
Mm.
And I remember my mom telling me about how death worked at like 5 or 6. But then she was trying to kind of, I suppose, placate my feelings and telling me about heaven. And I remember like she was kind of like holding me in her arms, and she's like fast asleep, not thinking about this. But if I could somehow paint this image, like I'm like laying awake with both of my eyes like fucking like all the way fucking wide open, trying to comprehend, like, wait a minute, this all ends? I'm going to die? Like, I don't have a choice in it? And then just, dealing with that. And then growing up Catholic, uh, I reached a point when I was 12 where I started thinking, like, where is all of this shit, bullshit? Am I, um, being lied to? And I've come to various conclusions over the years, but I guess that's one of the like type of things that I think about. I run the gamut, but I think right now one of the main things I'm thinking about is just um thinking of something to say to where it's entertaining to other people. You know, I don't know if your mind works that way, where when you are talking, you actually do have moments where you step back and you start to think like, am I just like rambling right now or something? Is what I'm saying um coherent? But yeah, if I could summarize all of it, it would be, um is there, again, like I mentioned earlier, is there meaning to what I'm doing, and will I derive meaning from all of this, especially from any type of struggle, if any of that made any sense to you?
Yeah, no, dude, I completely understand you. These things are important. These things appear in metal. Um, I think Sven said it best, man. Rather have things go badly and see what you need to change, sort out. You have to go through these shitty experiences in life. Otherwise, you get stagnation, right? Everything's good all the time. If you're happy, blah blah blah.
Well, and I understand that, in art there is suffering, and sometimes out of suffering comes great art, and it's a normal part of life. But I will tell you, after a while, you do start to question, like, uh, am I, like, you start to think, like, am I just causing all of these issues because it's almost like you're trying to force a square peg into a circle hole
Hmm.
or something like that. And you start to think, am I to blame for something like this? It's just, there was so much stuff that would pile up that, um, it would definitely, it is already like fallen off of the border of absurdity.
Hmm.
um there are definitely, like, there's some things right now I wish I could tell you, but I'll put it to you like this. um I have a legal obligation not to,
Hmm.
is how serious it is.
Yeah, I understand.
um but uh and that I shouldn't even talk about it, but and you do come out of it, but it's just, I remember back when COVID happened, and the band almost, not only the band, but almost lost like a 15-year friendship out of it because we couldn't see the forest through the trees. You know?
Yeah.
We didn't think that we'd ever play live again.
I mean, I remember exactly that story, and I'm not going to go into it. You know, you told me.
Oh yeah, that's behind us now, which is really good. But what I was saying is, when you're going through something, it's hard to see the other side of it. When you eventually get there, you do realize, like, okay, you can appreciate what you've gone through, but sometimes in the moment, it just absolutely just fucking sucks. But that's the thing about human beings. If there's one thing that I could probably say that is very true about human beings, is the one thing that we can do is just endure. I remember when I was learning about Carcosa and the Yellow King, because I love the first season of True Detective, and there was this thing about how humans in that particular story, they end up in this land, in Carcosa, where they eventually go mad. But the one thing that was mentioned that we have as a type of resolve as a human being is that even if you're going mad in this place where everything is completely hostile, that we have this property within us that allows us to keep going. Which I think is, can be good and bad, because you do, at points in your life, you should ask yourself, should I keep going? But, we've added some people to our little meetup.
Yeah, man, we've got Tempestuous Might, who's been...
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, if anybody else wants to jump in, like, anybody else is more than welcome. If you see any type of questions or anything like that, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I mean, I'm more than willing to answer anything.
Man, Maximus Decimus Meridius, man. Yeah, just saying. We don't get to control much of our lives, man. We just kind of have to go with it, The gods control our fate.
Yeah, and so much is pre-decided. Everything from, our genetics to our parameters as far as, like, our breadth of ability. Hey,
yo.
What's good?
Sup?
Tempestuous Might, man. It's been a while as well.
How you doing, man?
What up? Y'all see me?
No, it's just audio.
Yeah, we're just doing audio for today.
I was more than willing to do video, but it is kind of casual, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a video like next time. It's getting warm here, but yeah, I just wanted to keep it chill and relaxed, and the first time, and get things done as simply as possible, and it was still a pain in the ass to get done, and just talk about various things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like something. I almost want to see if I probably shouldn't do this, but I almost would suggest, like, just you want me to talk about, because this is something that I guess I don't know if a lot of people know this. I'm really active on YouTube, and I kind of catalog various sorts of things, whether it be like the metal that we all love to deranged things that I find funny. If you want, I can go through like a couple and describe, I guess, like not having to watch the video, but just describing my thought process on like
Well, yeah,
why I had.
I have one thing I need to ask you about. One thing I said that we were going to talk a lot about. We're gonna have to talk about defeated sanity, and I'm very curious about Tempestuous's thoughts because he's like very opposite of everyone else.
Okay, like
What's that supposed to mean?
I mean, I'm just saying, everyone's like, yeah, damn, this is like their best. This is a fucking incredible album, and you're like, bro, it's okay, whatever.
Oh, that last album?
Yeah, Chronicles of Lunacy.
Oh shit. I mean, I honestly I really need to listen to it more, but for my first 3 listens, like it was really technical, really extreme, obviously.
Yeah.
But I didn't really see a point of it existing, I guess, other than it's just a kind of
a new
monument to
album.
technicality.
There's a new album out.
By defeated sanity.
We need money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually in a
What is
listening.
the album saying? I don't understand what it's saying, I guess.
Bro,
Maybe it's
like,
going over my head a bit.
dude, I mean, it's got that kind of like German thing, like, yeah, we make very complex music, but it grooves like a
Yeah.
motherfucker. There's this level of like primal stupidity, and not this kind of walk on homeboy kind of stupidity, but more like vampire drink blood good kind of like primal base anger.
I was actually in
And I
a
can see that.
listening party for that one. I got to hear it a couple days before it got released because I was the only 2 albums that I was looking forward to last year that I liked were the new Deceased and the new Defeated Sanity. I'll actually even tell you the new Defeated Sanity was so good that Jerry of all people finally likes Defeated Sanity. Like that's how good it is. But I understand why you would say like what is the purpose of this album when you have the other ones? The difference, I think, is the fact that with Von Stoffe on guitar, it's a different ball game because he does bring. He was actually like a like guitar conservatory type dude that didn't actually even listen to metal or play metal, and then he started getting more into it because he could appreciate it and had the ability to do it. And
That's funny because usually it's the opposite.
oh, I know it that shit can make it so much fucking worse. Like I mean, obviously, like we could bring up like Polyphia or the anybody coming out of Berkeley now or the modern prog. But I'll even go a step further. I've never been like a fan of people like Steve Vai or Joe Satriani, but I think with the latest Defeated Sanity album, I think that there was a little bit more streamlining of what they were doing because the album before that one was really wacky.
Yeah.
Primarily because oh god, Leela actually was the one who wrote it and performed all the guitar on that album, which is insane considering
It kind of
how
reminds me
old
of
the memory is.
the erosion of sanity, kind of in a way how it's playing,
Yeah.
but not as good probably.
Well, that I know a lot of people like. Do you like Erosion of Sanity?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, it's a great album.
I don't know why, but and I need to go back and listen to more of Erosion of Sanity. But sometimes I don't find that album as memorable. But
it's really not memorable.
Yeah.
it's like an autistic breaking down of substructures into just as far as they can take it.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny because Gorguts is always remembered as the band that went like full on bonkers after that album, but on that album, they've got some of the most autistic things I've ever heard. Like you said, like they break down every single thing. It's like It's like if you took a chorus and you broke it down to like 20 different parts that you play in a song. You know?
That was entirely because Suffocation came up to Canada and Doug Cerrito showed him the Breeding the Spawn stuff. And so Luke was like, "Oh, I gotta get me some of that,"
Yeah.
and immediately started writing again, like insane shit. And then that entire band, except for him, leaves.
It's crazy, dude. Like Sven is the biggest erosion of sanity lover in the kind of like HF circle, and he he is threatening everyone right now.
Oh, I don't know why.
I'm with
It
them on
is
that.
a
The erosion
good
sanity is
album.
amazing.
Yeah.
But I probably need to listen to it more because it just something about it just didn't grab me. I mean, obviously there's really great shit on it. Like I remember, with Flesh He Will Create. Like
yeah, with Their Flesh You'll Create. That's the first song.
yeah, and that's almost like a I don't know why it reminds me kind of Morpheus Descends and like Malevolent Creation.
What's it called? Odors of Existence is another great one from that album. Yeah.
And Dying Fetus covered it. I don't know if you knew that.
Man, I heard the Dying Fetus Streaks of Blood cover and the fucking what's that Napalm Unchallenged Hate by Napalm Death, and I didn't need
Well,
to
they did Scum on their first album.
Oh damn. I didn't need
But
to listen to those covers, to be honest.
huh?
I didn't need to listen to Defeated Sanity. No, not the fucking Dying Fetus cover. Anyone.
Oh, dude! Like, what's sad is for some people that's the only way that they discovered Baphomet.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ya Allah. So yeah, but yeah, as you were saying.
So where is everyone, by the way?
Where am I? I'm at home.
No, I meant everyone else.
Oh,
Well, everyone's busy. Everyone's doing their thing. If they want to jump on, I would share like the link on the chat. The Discord link. But then we'll just get a bunch of people coming in, screaming out a bunch of insane fucking nonsense, getting the channel nuked, and just
Probably.
Is that who you've allowed into the chat? Into the chat now?
No, dude. No, I'm saying it's. So on the Instagram, on the like Hesh chat, it's available, but I didn't want to put the Discord link on the YouTube. You know what I mean? Like unless like Maximus, someone we know, really wants to come on, then yeah.
What's really funny is I still have the notifications set up for the chat, and I gotta tell you, sometimes like my phone will be going off because I have it on vibrate, and like it'll be like 4 a.m, and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about now? And like I'll like look at my phone, and it's just because like sometimes you think, like, oh, it's 4 a.m, and somebody's texting me. It's like it's got to be an emergency. It's like dumb emojis and shit.
Europeans.
Yeah. It's us Europeans.
And me, an American with a very bad sleep schedule.
Oh no, I got one too.
Yeah, we all have terrible sleep schedules. That's why we're always up at like the same time. And it's bad times in both places, right?
Yeah, it's never gonna make sense. It's like everybody's awake in the AM. You're in the future. That was all. I remember back in 2012 when that shit was going down. That the reason everybody knew we were okay is because people in Australia were okay because of the time zone thing. As if fucking the end of the world would recognize the time zones. But yeah, no, New Defeated Sanity, I remember it had some like really great type of slams on that album. But I understand, like, you do ask yourself, it is more of the same thing that you've gotten from Defeated Sanity in the past. You're not getting as creative an album as you got previously. And there's also I'll go ahead and say it right now, and I even actually asked them about this. Because everybody, I mean, we don't have to talk about the concept of it, but when I saw the song title, A Patriarchy Per Verse, my ears perked up like a deer. because I'm thinking like, what are these songs lyrics about? And it was more about like I guess something historical, but again, through the usage of certain words, you do have to ask yourself like, what are they getting at?
Yeah, it's. I mean, that was a head scratching, but for me, what really makes this album special is that, they've always had this kind of like insane autism where I felt like they always do great stuff, but they sometimes struggle to put it all together. And in many ways,
Yeah.
this album is like it's a recapitulation of everything they ever did, but just really well organized for once. And it's like I think it's the perfect entry point into the band because you get everything. For example, their previous one, the Sanguinary Impetus. It's like some of the most batshit thing I've ever heard in death metal. It's like the extreme of that kind of like very distant jazzy death metal stuff. Like there's no way you can follow up an album like that, right? I think it's really
Yeah, because
sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think this one is great because you have all the elements. You even have stuff from like Dharmata on this one, Disposal of the Dead. Psalms of the Moribund. Prelude to the Tragedy, and it's like they went in a full cycle. They managed to like, okay, this is everything Lily has learned in his life as a metal musician, and he's managed to kind of like put it all together in one really coherent piece.
Yeah, it is almost like a weird greatest hits but it's an original album,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I think it's a great thing because it just sounds great as an album. It's short. Every song is great.
If I were to hand any album to a younger guy wanting to get into Defeated Sanity, for me, I think the album I'd hand them would be Chapters of Repugnance, because it's got the most, I guess, dumb caveman shit in it. It's got a lot of slow breakdowns that you can latch onto. But if you were to try to give them something like Psalms of the Moribund, where it just sounds like a soup of like almost incoherent riffage, where it does almost take the feeling of a texture, where it's not entirely you're not sure what's going on, but on that one I would say it's kind of also their most brutal in a way, and I would give somebody that to make like an impression. But this one I would also pass off. They came real close to almost doing like a guitar solo, but they put the kibosh on that real quick.
I mean,
They only did guitar solos on Dharmata.
Yeah, I mean, Dharmata was like a very special. It was almost like a cover project. Well, it was a tribute in their own weird way.
Yeah, cynic and death, and in a way atheist, but
Damn, wait, Maximus Decimus has never listened to Defeated Sanity. Oh, bro, you have to ASAP.
a lot of people. I was like that for a really long time too, because you do kind of like put Defeated Sanity on, and you 5 minutes go by, and you're thinking like, what am I like? What have I listened to?
Yeah.
It's very chaotic and can be very off-putting.
Yeah, it is. But it's definitely one of those bands. If you stick around and you really listen, you'll always get something out of them. I mean, unless you're not like if you're a genuine fan of death metal and you want like newer things that no one else has quite done, and possibly I think Lily might. I'll say this, he is the best musician in metal right now. The stuff he plays on the drums, the fact that he writes all the guitar lines, plays a lot of them. It's absolutely insane what he's doing, and he keeps improving.
It's unfair, is what it is, to be that good on multiple instruments.
Need somebody to write a death metal symphony already. Let's get it the fuck over with.
Yeah, supposedly, of all people, Luke had mentioned that he had done something like that when he was in college. He was talking this about like a violent symphony, which is after I think Gorguts folded the first time after From Wisdom to Hate. and I don't know if that ever got out. Although the closest I can actually say that came to that is, do you guys know the guy from Dark Fortress and Alkaloid?
Yeah, I know of Alkaloid.
His name is Florian. He had a let me look it up. I remember back when I was getting into metal and I'd heard about black metal. Even then, I knew that a band like Dark Fortress was not a band that was lauded within black metal. Like, and Tempestuous, you could correct me if I'm wrong there, because like you actually know more black metal than death metal, or do you kind of know more of a balance?
That's a balance for me.
Okay, that's good. But the guy's name is he goes by Florian Magnus Meyer. He did a piece called Schattenspiel, which I don't know what that means, but there was like an hour-long documentary
that on here.
Huh?
This is why we need Sven on here.
Yeah.
Is he German?
Yes, Sven is German.
No, that is a German name, because I know Sven Ola Thorson, who was Arnold's workout buddy. But yeah, no, this guy supposedly did kind of like a death metal classical piece. That's the only thing that I know that has kind of come close to that. This is one of the things I still don't understand why it exists. But you guys know that Entomb did Clandestine with a fucking orchestra?
What?
I've heard of that.
You don't know that? So...
no, sorry, Peter was saying that you were referring to non-Euclid. No, this was literally... So I looked it up. This was an actual thing he did with an orchestra, and there was like a documentary about it.
Yeah. No, and I was mainly mentioning bands that he was in, like Alkaloid, because I know he's in that, and I forgot about non-Euclid. I think everybody else.
A lot of stuff comes out like War Gear.
That's something I don't get. Is like, this is something that immediately we could talk about right now. Do you guys want to talk about J-Dog?
Oh my god! All right, let's talk about J-Dog.
So, okay, embrace yourselves for this one. He has made the claim that in Torment in Hell and Incinerate Him by Deicide is better than Realm of Chaos.
Ya Allah. There are levels to this that I cannot even fucking comprehend. Now he's probably just bullshit.
Let me throw a worse one at you. He claims to not know who Infestor was. And then
I've always wondered about that. Like,
on him for that. He said that that Infestor were a hipster band, basically. And
wait, hello?
Completely incorrect.
Hello?
Are you serious?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Stream, yeah.
Oh yeah, what's up?
I didn't see the episode where he'd mentioned Infestor. I'd only seen it in comments because I'd actually made a comment saying like why he's never mentioned him. And somebody mentioned that he has, but I didn't see the actual thing. They think they're like a fucking hipster band.
Are you talking about J-Dog?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
His opinions on Infestor, apparently.
And also too, he said that Incinerate Him and In Torment in Hell is better than Realm of Chaos.
I mean, he's
He's really smart.
He's a really smart guy.
Yeah, J-Dog, I mean, I think he's definitely playing a character because some of his titles just get even.
Oh, he wasn't like that at the beginning. He was not like this at the beginning. He's basically like a
He
wrestler.
he plays a character, but it's not a character. He's actually a
That's
very
very true.
he's a very deeply insecure human being.
So we're saying
Dude.
he's like a pro wrestler. You know how like the guys in the 80s where it's like
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they turn it up
Except
to
he
11.
doesn't have the balls those guys have, and he's not as tall.
But because when I look at the titles of his like YouTube videos, like this channel
There's a lot
is not a channel for men who fuck other men in the ass. I'm like, what?
There's a lot of really latent homosexuality, and like a psychologist like could have a field day with why did you title it that way? Also, he doesn't.
Well, yeah, he's like overtly homophobic, but he looks up to fucking bodybuilders, and that's like his main thing, It's just
And-
a weird
And my problem with
dynamic.
this channel was there's so much rambling. It's just like I watched a couple of videos and it was just a waste of time because when you actually get down to the actual information about bands, there's so little of it compared to him just rambling about random shit.
Mhm.
Well, the fact that he considers Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth to be of like high caliber black metal, just I don't get.
I never heard that.
I mean,
That's crazy.
I think Cradle of Filth is high caliber black metal. I'll fight anybody on that.
I'm just not into like what album.
Have you heard like the first few Cradle of Filth? They're like actually some of the best
Have you
black
heard
metal
the
ever.
demo, the death
I
metal
heard the
demo
only
by
one I
Cradle of
ever
Filth
really
is
listened
fantastic.
to was Midia.
Controlling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, no,
Whose
I'm not
man's is
trolling.
this? Whose man's?
What? Cradle of Filth rules. The first few albums are amazing.
Yeah,
I-
I think Peter and Maxim.
They sound like Emperor Light with some death metal
It's
riffs.
not Emperor Light at all, dude. It's amazing,
Danny-
dude. Like,
Dude, let
the
me say
first few albums are great.
Dude, Danny Filth is essentially a neo-folk singer, right? He can't really sing.
Dude, Danny Filth writes like
Wait, what?
amazing lyrics,
Yeah,
though.
his lyrics are
I
amazing.
will
He
say
can't-
that the lyrics
Oh,
are
yeah, his
absolutely
lyrics are
just
amazing.
like, yeah.
But I'm just saying, he's like a lot of these neo-folk guys. He can't actually write any of the music. He needs someone to do all that part for him.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, he's just the vocalist, man.
But he's the vocalist and the
A lot of those lyrics are cheesy, and a lot of them are really good.
and he's the main guy in the band, right? It's like his band and hired hands, except it's the hired hands who write everything, and he just kind of sets about the aesthetics and he
Yeah,
sounds like a little
but
5-year-old boy,
it's a different process. But I mean, I still think the first few Cradle of Filth they're overhated by people, and especially by like, I think the Thunderground circle, which is funny because of a band like Moonblood that like the Thunderground and all these hipster fucking Instagram fucking wignats like worship. Moonblood loved Cradle of Filth. That was like one of their biggest influences. But like, a lot of these people, they can't admit that Cradle of Filth is good because, it's kind of like a
Moonblood ever release
secondhand
anything good?
embarrassment thing. What?
Did Moonblood ever release anything good?
I don't think so personally. I know a lot of like
Yeah, I don't either.
Thunderground people love them though. I think Moonblood is like
Like
fucking
those
F tier black
prolific
metal,
bands
but-
with so many demos that people just worship. Like the old who's that heroin guy from Germany or Switzerland?
Oh,
or some shit.
Grazenkite, yeah, and
Yeah,
everything
People worship
he
the
does.
fuck out of that. There's like one good riff per song, and there's no good songs.
There's
Well,
a thing-
I'm personally against like major key happy sounding black metal. I think that's like
that
the
shit.
worst
Oh
shit
my
ever.
God. Like that
Like
started with
it's not rooted in metal at all, in my opinion. It's completely rooted in like Viking rock and oi, and it's not metal tinged at all. Like the actual riffs being played do not sound like metal riffs. You can have like a like a happy major key sounding metal riff, right? Because it's being
it would
played
also
like a certain-
depend on like if you were utilizing a mode instead of necessarily a scale. There's
Yeah,
major
yeah.
modes that don't have to sound just I have no other word to describe that than shit. Like sometimes it's hard for me.
There's a band I cannot stand, Eisenwinter. I mean, that band just sounds. It's not metal. It's not black metal. You
Well, the
cannot
thing that
tell
I
me.
think of is Lycathia Flame, and like sometimes it'll for me it'll be like pulling teeth hearing some of the riffs off of that album.
Yeah.
Dude, it's there are a lot of major melodies, but the thing that it works in like Atheo Flame because it sounds so fucking hectic all the time. You know, it's not like because I know exactly, what's being referred to like the kind of NSBM like wannabe really epic over the top major chord strumming, right, with the most annoying chord progressions where it's super like where it wants to be triumphant but just ends up
Yeah, but like the thing to me is that like you can be triumphant, but you can do it in like a metal sort of way. Like a lot of like for example, Vothana doesn't even sound like it's not metal melodies. It's like fucking I don't know how to explain it. It's weird. It's just not
Vothana came in
metal
with the
sounding to
Finnish
me.
style and also the
The
French
Finnish,
style.
yeah, the Finnish style is just like the entire Finnish style is like a bastardization of like the late '90s French stuff.
well, isn't
You
like
got Crystal Knock.
Concilium.
Which even like Signy or Volin, I used to like them a little bit, but I can't even stand them anymore because they can't even write good songs. They can't write good songs. They just have like 3 like riffs per song, and that's it. They can't actually write songs.
There were a couple
And
guys that I was teaching that were into black metal, and I was kind of just showing them the basics on how to do stuff. But they already had, stuff like tremolo picking down. They would send me audio clips of the music that they were looking forward to that they were writing, and they were not sober when they wrote it. And when they sent it to me, I would always be like, why don't you use more half steps here? It's like, oh, it's supposed to sound like that. I'm like, it's supposed to be in a fucking major key like that. And I just didn't get it. But I think now it's this kind of it was something I'd even mentioned earlier where a person tries to pass off something like that as innovation when it just there is a semblance of having something traditional in the music without I don't know, it just doesn't fit. There's another thing, speaking of like I guess black metal or modern black metal, could somebody explain to me what the deal is with Wrath of Logarius?
what's that?
Dude, that just sounds like
You don't
Spear of Longinus but with like different words to me.
know.
What is it called?
Wrath of Logarius. It used to be called Logarius's Martyr or something like that, but they have coined a new form of black metal, ironically called formless black metal. And
Huh?
I
Sounds
put
like
on
some
a
liturgy bullshit.
yeah.
It is. Yeah, it sounds. Yeah, I
I put
don't
on a
know.
song the other night, and it had a brutal death metal breakdown in it.
That's
And
fucking strange.
dude,
Came
like,
from the bottom of the card.
Wait, is this fucking
but
play
yeah,
about us?
So
I don't
actually,
know.
I want
Go
to go
ahead.
back to the Vothana thing. They actually, a lot of their riffs are just like Vietnamese, like patriotic songs, composed in a black metal way. And sometimes it sounds like they almost lift stuff from like Bach or Mozart or something. It's kind of cool, honestly. Some of their songs are rather meandering, but some of them are really good. It just depends on like what era of Vothana.
I think most of Vothon is very meandering, like 10-minute songs with like that just go nowhere. Like I feel like
Their
Kenny Vu
2007
just
stuff is
doesn't.
good.
I just feel like Kenny Vu doesn't know how to write a metal song.
I mean, dude, I have absolutely no issues with someone being completely outside the style of metal and making like cool things with metal aesthetics. I've always said, I'm a big fan of stuff like Babylon Whores, which is arguably isn't really metal or whatever. But the problem with these bands that these melodies they're not even good for like post rock or whatever, or post punk or whatever you want to, stuff.
It sounds like gay video game music. I don't know, not even cool video game music to me.
Wait, Vothana is Vietnamese for atheist.
Yeah, and apparently, people he uses like Google Translate for a lot of his shit, like a lot of the lyrics and
I heard that
album
too.
titles and stuff.
Yeah.
I would not be remotely surprised.
I asked the guys.
I mean, I will say, I mean, he's a talented guy. He can fucking play instruments, but that only goes so far, you know.
His melodies are
And
great.
I don't.
just
know.
needs
I
to
don't. I
edit
personally think they're just corny. I don't know. They just sound corny to me. It's not what I look for in black metal, particularly.
Why is the dude
Um,
like blown up within the past couple of years, and he's been around for like 20-some years?
Because he was spotted working at Subway a few years ago.
I'm sorry, what?
There's like I guess like a rumor that he works at Subway or
Big black metal.
something.
Dude, I mean, there was like a copy pasta. I was like, yeah, I saw Kenny at Subway. No, how could you be so evil, Kenny?
No wonder he's an atheist.
I don't. Yeah, it's like, NSBM is just the Thunderground now, and it's always been the Thunderground. It's always had this reputation of drama, ass kissing, and posturing. It's not. I don't really consider most of that to be real black metal. Like, I just think it's just a socialite scene. It's full of socialites.
I find it really funny, the idea of like a Vietnamese person being virulently anti-Semitic.
I mean, what did the Jews ever do to fucking, Vietnamese people? I was going to say another word,
I'm
but
sure that he can bring it around to like, firebombed or napalm some village, even though he's from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I don't know, dude. I think it's just severe. I don't know, because there's a lot of just like non-white people posturing as NS and are like infatuated with NS, and I think it just comes down to them being deeply insecure individuals who just hate their own race and wish they were white. I think that's what it comes down to.
However, are amazing.
Huh?
Memes are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, these people truly are, like, their life is a meme when you think about it. I mean, they're non-white people who want to be white, and they love NS aesthetics, and like they base, like, their entire interests around that.
But I don't understand, dude, like, the thing is, in metal, we don't need more white, whatever white culture means, or European culture, dude. It's like, that's been done a million times. It's been done really, really well by some bands and really fucking bad by others. If people are like capable of like, not doing something cringe like Vofana, we're like trying to, pretending to be like a Vietnamese atheist soldier, right? But like your own culture, your own experiences, your own reality, your own truth, your own.
That would be really interesting.
You know what I mean? I think he could have done something really cool, like expressing, figuring out a way to express his like Vietnamese origins as understood by his kind of like super Americanized, sense of identity. Like that.
Well, one of my favorite bands ever will always be Intestine Bailism, and I remember I was talking about this with somebody, but you can hear in a lot of those a lot of the melodies that they write, there's a lot of like legitimate sorrow in those melodies. And I remember I was out on a walk one day, and I think it might have been the one at the end of Cannibal Sodom, and for whatever reason, like, I don't know why in particular I thought about this, but it reminded me of that piece of music by Penderecki, like a threnody for the victims of Hiroshima. The actual end melody to Cannibal Sodom sounded like a better threnody or a better remembrance of the people that died in that particular event than the actual insane fucking Penderecki piece. Mm-hmm. And that's where
your note about that.
your nationality or your ethnicity can shine through, with your own experiences, without having to imitate somebody else because it's what makes you successcul.
Yeah, I mean that's what MSBM
The
is
Trinity piece is
nowadays.
horrifying to listen to.
You've I'm trying to answer both of them. I have never really listened to much NSBM, and you have heard that piece, have you, Tempestuous?
Trinity, yes. That's all those metal bands that they have the kind of industrial noise sound. They're trying to sound as scary as possible. That has nothing on Trinity. Like Trinity
Well,
mogs all those completely.
when it played on the 8th episode of Twin Peaks: The Return, it was a moment where, I mean, the full fucking thing played during this stylized sequence where David Lynch took you inside the heart of a nuclear explosion.
The nuclear bomb, right?
And it's, I mean, yeah, that song is legitimately harrowing. I wouldn't feel comfortable just throwing that on. It's kind of like if you
I
were to
listened to
throw
that
on
before sleeping one time. I had the worst nightmares ever.
Yeah, it'll give it, because there's something so visceral about it. Like, it's not comfortable feeling. It's, to me, the thing that I think about that is kind of like that is, and it's just because of experiences I've had with it, is the Shining soundtrack. There's a lot of unease that soundtrack gives me, especially because when I'd hosted movie days and we finally threw that one on, it was in the heart of summer. It was incredibly hot in my room, and it didn't really have like great air conditioning in it. And with that soundtrack on it, there was a point during the movie where, for some reason, all of the heat and the like the soundtrack, we'd all become really hostile with one another. There's like 6 dudes in one room, which I know how that sounds, but
Sorry.
I get a pause.
That caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue,
But I'll go ahead and say this story because, it's not like something bad, but I literally pulled a knife out on a friend of mine. It was so fucking hostile. Yeah.
Whoa.
Do you guys want
The fucking music possessed you to do that?
Me.
No, it was just this combination of we were in watching The Shining, we're like an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and there was just something about the uncomfortability of that movie and the fact that there was just this pressure building in the room because I'd assembled a team of guys that would have never met any of the other guys under normal circumstances. The only connecting fiber they had was they were my friend, and they would never be one another's friends under any other circumstance. So it just was like a recipe for homemade dynamite.
So you just basically became Jack Torrance and almost
We
killed
all
your
did.
friend. Oh, you all did. Okay,
I mean, yeah, we all were at odds with one another. It wasn't like a thing that I made it more dramatic than what it was, but basically a friend at the time was kind of I don't know, picking on another guy and just I'd gotten tired. I was a young man. I was this is over 13 years ago. But yeah, no, I mean, and even in the moment, it didn't even feel that very serious. But it was a weird atmosphere. But yeah, no, the music can bring that out of you more so than anything. Funnily enough, in a metal genre, I mean, there's only very few pieces of music where I'm I can't listen to that.
Yeah.
All right, gang, I gotta get out of here.
All right, bye, buddy.
See you, man.
Y'all still on? When I'm back, I'll hop in.
Okay.
How long,
see.
Nick? How long are you gonna do the stream for?
I think he went MIA.
Are you
He
fucking
just said he'll be
serious?
back.
You heard about
He
the
just
two
said
guys
he'll
in
be
the room
back.
when he had to excuse himself to the bathroom real quick. That's what it was.
To jerk off, man. It must be fun.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said
Bye-bye.
he'll be. I see you, man.
I will be back. Well, this is strange. The fucking it's just continuing.
Well, yeah.
The fucking stream.
Yeah, it's just gonna continue. Just gonna continue forever. Just
Dude,
Nick forgets about us, and
did you
it's
see where Keemstar apparently like fired Jordy
oh yeah, but he's back.
already? Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to? I guess how long have y'all been streaming for?
2 hours.
Oh damn. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So do you want to kind of close this stream off and
I
then go into another chat? It's up to
like
you.
yeah, no, I didn't want to just like leave Nick hanging. I
Oh,
liked it.
no, we can just yeah.
I just wanted to make sure to make sure that this has like a proper ending. I didn't want to.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad you're back in the HF cinematic universe.
If there ever was one, yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad
Um,
you're back, and I hope you stay.
I know. Yeah, I do too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all like a mental health fucking thing.
Yeah. You know, shit happens, of course.
But I definitely hope that people have enjoyed listening to it because I definitely can ramble if
Yeah. I mean, it was a great stream. I was listening to it while finishing up some work
yeah.
and fucking at the local library. But
You work at the local library?
no, it's some school work
Oh, okay.
at the college. But yeah, I was listening to it. It was a really good. I like the what was it? I especially liked it when you delved deep into Dismember and kind of the nuances of kind of bands not sounding like Dismember exactly, not really.
That was somebody else's sentiment, but it took me a while to really kind of get like, okay, why does somebody, because Dismember, honestly, music, as far as music goes, the music is simple, which can be said about a lot of different bands. Like, I was watching a cover of some guy do Dark Age by Vader, and it's a very simple song. There's like a couple riffs, and they're not very difficult to play. But it is the brevity in which they're composed what holds them together, and it's also just the appliance of like Occam's razor, and that you are making the music as lean as possible. You're not it's not going to have a lot of extraneous types of things, though some may see guitar solos as extraneous. I enjoy them, but it's something that they kind of lost by the time they did their second album. I think a lot of people probably stop at around the Pieces EP. I do kind of wonder what people, especially
like I love. I'm a diehard Dismember fan. Like, they're probably my third favorite death metal band, and they don't have an album that I don't like. I even like the last album, even though it's like pure just autopsy worship.
that's
But,
actually
like,
what I was going to.
they have their own spin to it, I feel like, and honestly, like, I think, and I'm not sure how most people feel about this record, but I fucking love death metal. That album, Death Metal, that they released.
Yeah.
in around the late 90s. I think before Hate Campaign. I think that was the name of the album, right? Hate Campaign, the one that came out after Death Metal. But that album is amazing. Like, I fucking love that album. It's just a blast to listen to. And I feel like, I feel like it's leagues above Massive Killing Capacity because it's way more energetic, I feel like, and I feel like, I don't know, it's Massive Killing Capacity, it's more like stomp your feet and kind of like AC/DC sort of like energy, whereas I feel like, Death Metal, that album is more kind of just like more rooted in like, new wave of British heavy metal sort of like, energy. It kind of has that sort of anthemic energy that, new wave of British heavy metal had, whereas Massive Killing Capacity is more like the classic hard rock, like Scorpions and AC/DC sort of stuff.
Well, the thing that they fucked up on, I don't know if you know this, but on Massive Killing Capacity, they thought that they could get nuance out of the HM2, so they turned I think it was the gain or the level knob to halfway, and it gave it this really awkward tone, where if they would just run it full bore, it might have helped with some of the stuff. I've heard that some people's criticisms of Massive Killing Capacity was that it got like too technical, but I think the thing that I was actually going to mention was I do wonder what the appraisal of every album past Indecent and Obscene is, because I mean, there's got to be a verdict on.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people like Where Iron Crosses Grow, and I personally love that album. I think it has a lot of very great moments, especially I feel like in a time where death metal was really dwindling down. I mean, like, especially a lot of the old school bands were just not releasing good stuff anymore, And I feel like kind of with that album, they kind of, because that album came out, I think, like a few years after Hate Campaign. And that album in particular, I feel like, blows Hate Campaign out of the water. And I really feel like they kind of just got back into their groove, where they had it, during, the death metal era. And I feel like just the songs are they're just way better composed and less all over the place. Because I feel like with Hate Campaign, it was very all over the place. It felt very rushed, despite them having a few years after the death metal record. But, overall, there's a lot of great songs on Where Iron Crosses Grow. One standout is Chasing the Serpent. That song in particular is, really stands out in their catalog. But yeah, I mean, compared to like a Souls to Deny from Suffocation or like a Blasphemy from Incantation, I think that album blows like those out of the water. Where Iron Crosses Grow is like a mid-period, kind of comeback, album sort of vibe, I'm sorry if I'm not articulating it best.
Oh, no, I get it. The funny thing is that when I'm looking at the Where Iron Crosses Grow record, and the cover is a Dan Seagrave, but it looks so similar to Souls to Deny.
Yeah, it has, like in the background, that little like monolith thing where it's kind of like spiraling. It's similar to the Souls to Deny thing, Maybe it's part of the same fucking cover. Maybe he just made like a big piece and took two pieces of it.
Dan has done things like that before. It is a sick cover. What's funny is the second top-rated Dismember album is actually The God That Never Was with 91%.
Yeah, that has one of the best Dismember songs, which is Time Heals Nothing. That's one of my favorite Dismember songs.
I'll have to check out these albums because I've not actually sat down with them. I watched the documentaries on
mhm.
Dismember, but it took me a while to just get into Dismember because you can have this thing where you do kind of think of Dismember as being boring, but
Yeah, I definitely get that sentiment because they're not they kind of have like a few party tricks, and I'm not like denoting like, well, that's not the right word, but I'm not like sort of downplaying their like their musicianship as party tricks, but I can see how people can sort of mistake that as that because kind of the Dismember thing is autopsy riff, then a melodic lead to break it up, then another autopsy riff, and I
definitely.
feel like to a lot of people get really stale, because it's not really like it's not like a labyrinth-esque like death metal experience. It isn't like your incantation or suffocation. It doesn't feel like you're spiraling into sort of this deep abyss. It's more like it's more, I would say, not stagnant, more like it's more leveled in a sense. It just has a very sort of like very old school death metal approach. As I said, like a lot like Autopsy, it being one of their biggest influences. So that's kind of what like I attribute their songwriting style to be like. Kind of less labyrinth-esque and more kind of straightforward, whatnot. But they do have some like labyrinth-esque moments, especially on like on the B side of like an ever-flowing stream. There's a lot of very complex songs, a lot of like transitions and whatnot. Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear you.
From dream to dream, we have been like an ever-flowing stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I also can't hear you.
I mean, my favorite Dismember song is Dismembered, and that song is just one of the greatest, just metal songs ever. Like it's just fucking perfect. Like,
I was thinking of the Edgar Allan Poe quote is "All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream." I think the other is actual Dismember.
Yeah.
You said that you mentioned the song "Dismembered" as
Yeah.
one of the more interesting beginnings, and I've listened to it over and over. It almost has like an awkward way that it transitions into the song, but like the song Dreaming in Red, from going from this like really dramatic clean intro into the heaviness of the actual song, it almost sounds inappropriate or it doesn't meld well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know a
Well,
lot of people do. Good.
I can see that, and honestly, you could kind of twist that into it being a good thing because
Yeah.
it's kind of unconventional, and that's what death metal is about, being unconventional and kind of pushing the boundaries and straying, kind of just doing things that you won't expect.
Man,
And I feel like that song kind of is like representative of that in a sense.
I think you guys have decided it. Unwillingly. We've talked a lot about Dismember today. I think the next case for Death Metal's greatest album is gonna have to be like an ever-flowing stream.
Oh, totally.
I think that's the only way it will ever work at this point. We're gonna.
I have so much to say about that record, and
Yeah, I think a lot of people would have a lot to say about it. I mean, it's one of those albums where it's just like perfect.
Dude,
Yeah, it's a perfect record.
we could just scream "Suffer 1,000 deaths" and like everyone
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, hell yeah, that's exactly what we need."
Hell yeah.
I do wonder why they didn't have the other two songs on the album that they would eventually include later. Because
Death over
because
Cake,
initially the album was only 8 tracks.
Yeah, then Death Evocation and Defective Decay. Those
Yeah.
are added onto later, right? It's like bonus
Mhm.
tracks.
yeah, in 1996, and then in the 2005 reissue they added 2 Carnage songs, "Torn Apart"
Yeah.
and "Justifiable Homicide."
Mhm.
Did they actually record those?
Yeah, I think they were covers. I mean, it's essentially the same band, right?
Carnage was
Yeah, it was more like a super group kind of.
but before it was a supergroup like retroactively before the bands
Yeah,
that they would be
because
in.
you had Fred Edsby, you had who
Matty
else?
Karki,
Matty Karki and
Arch Enemy
David
Guy.
Blomqvist,
one of the Amott brothers, right?
yeah, Michael Amott. But yeah, it was 3 dudes from Dismember, Matty,
Mhm.
David, and Fred, Michael Amott, and then Johnny Dordovic, who I think he was the guy that was in yeah, he was he hasn't really done shit.
Dude, he didn't even play on the album, technically.
No.
Yeah,
He
just
was
produced
only
it.
on bass for the demo and live album.
Yeah.
And then he was vocals on track 2 of Clandestine, which is not a claim to fame. He was also
Yeah,
in his own band Hypnosia and Spiritual Beggars and some band called Mortal Abuse. But yeah, no, I mean, there were other people that were in Carnage. Johan Leva, who was the original vocalist for Arch Enemy, before they had women.
yeah. Yeah, did you know Disgrace did a Carnage cover to
Disgrace.
finish death metal band?
That
Not surprised, to be honest.
He also did a Jimi Hendrix cover. Foxy Lady.
Oh, wait, can you guys hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay,
fine.
this guy was saying in the chat, you couldn't hear me.
I actually like Disgrace, even though they're very rock and roll-esque, but I do dig them. They're a very bouncy rock and roll-esque band, but I feel like I'd rather listen to them than like for sure. I don't know how you guys feel about Disgrace or like
weird scene in general.
yeah, or Zizma. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but
Yeah,
I mean
we spoke about Zisma earlier and Lubricant
Yeah.
as well.
yeah, I really dig both those bands.
I
And
don't know what the fuck happened with Finland where this thing happened where everybody did like a couple of releases that were death metal and then immediately stopped.
mhm.
But kept the band name. Demolik didn't, Demigod didn't, but
I mean, Demigod did, dude. Like Shadow Mechanics, whatever the fuck it's called again.
did
Mhm.
they?
Yeah, that was the same band. I mean, Adremelech, arguably like the longest going actual Finnish death metal band.
My favorite Finnish death metal band is Depravity, and Depravity is such a weird band because they're like a black metal band, but they're not. You know?
They're very depraved.
Yeah. I mean, no, the riffs are not like death metal riffs, but they're played in with a death metal tone and in a
Yeah.
very low
Silence for
tuning.
centuries, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not really like death metal riffs per se.
There was another band I was thinking of that was kind of like that, where it had the tone of like a death metal band, but clearly the riffs were.
And for Depravities, Depravity makes sense because what was it? One of the guys, I think. Fuck. I'm trying to remember who exactly, but I think the bassist went on to do like a black metal project. I think it was like Diaboli or whatever, which I'm not. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but
Yeah, that
kind
was
of
the
makes
bass player.
sense.
You
What's
reminded
that?
me. It was the bass player. You reminded me of something, and I don't know how you reminded me of this, but this is something that we've never talked about. That is a pretty kind of dark subject. Do you guys know what the guitar player from Goat Lord did?
What? What do you do?
Yeah, didn't he like murder somebody?
So his name was Joe Franklin, and in 2014, sorry. Oh no, it was 2015. He decided to go into his neighbor's house and shot her, and then took her 8-year-old son and brought him to his house and shot him, and then shot himself.
Jesus fucking
He
Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this old website, but I was learning about it the other night. He ran that website Blood Shows.
No idea.
You guys know that one?
Nah.
So he went by the name Droll Sonatus, which was like a name that was like jumbled up thing that said Satan is Lord. But Blood Shows was this like, what was it? It was kind of like an older version of stuff like Rotten.com, but basically people dying in horrific fashions. And he used to make DVDs that he would hand out and sell that had like compilations of people dying on it with the fucking like watermark of his website with his name at the top with Goat Lord playing over it.
Seriously?
And he had like
that's fucking.
he had multiple different volumes.
Yeah, I wonder I wonder if I could find those DVDs.
Dude, it's
As fucked up as it sounds, it'd be cool to have.
You would be the person to find it, I think.
Yeah.
The video I did watch, a guy he did provide pictures of the DVD, and people were tracking down a lot of these clips. This one guy in the comments had mentioned he had messaged Joel Sonatus, and he asked, "What's the most fucked up thing that you have?" And he said, "I've got a video of this guy being tortured for hours." And he said it wasn't the actual violence or the torture that would bother you. It's just that it would be the just constant screaming of this dude.
Yeah.
oh my god.
But yeah, this dude was a very disturbed guy, and somehow there were archives of emails between him and like other people that are responding to the website. And there's this one dude who had just gotten back from Iraq, and this is during like 2003. And it's this dude that's gone over there, and like there's a ton of video of like people being beheaded and stuff like that on the website. But he's telling the guys, like, yeah, you know what, I went over there, and I made sure that there were a lot less of them when I came back to the US of A. And
Jesus.
dude was saying, like, you know, you're so brave for going over there. You got a lot of balls for going over there and killing a lot of those guys. It it speaks to a there is a what would it be? Not rawness, but a it seems like the late 90s and early 2000s on the internet, the value of a human life is exceedingly low. Like, it was almost normal for a lot of these type of videos to be on the internet. Now you really wouldn't see it, because, like, you've heard people talk about all the shit that used to get posted on, like, old 4chan and shit, and it just really seems like back during that time period, I mean, you probably, if you were just roaming the internet, you would see some wild shit that you really wouldn't see now.
Dude, I mean, I remember seeing that shit on Facebook, on YouTube. Like, how many times have I seen people in India get run over by trains? It's just like, I wasn't even looking for it. That mixtape culture did cross into the mainstream, if you guys remember when Saddam was executed, for example.
Yeah.
Ogrish was like fucking huge, at that time period. Everyone was on that stuff. There was even like, a lot of stuff on the tour side of things. It wasn't like everyone was watching that stuff, Obviously, Two Girls, One Cup, wherever you go in the world, everyone knows what the fuck that video is. It's like one of the most...
Yeah, but that ain't shit compared to, like, really some of the stuff you would see.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's like the mainstream acceptance of that kind of and tolerance of that kind of stuff was very high at one point.
Yeah, I mean, there would be vile shit that you like you just mentioned a second ago, you were not looking for it, but it would find you. I remember when I was on Facebook, this is like 16 years ago, I knew this guy, like, he and I had a vague acquaintanceship in high school. And I get on Facebook, and he starts private messaging me. First, he sends me this blog of a woman who worked with special ed students, just talking about how awful her job it is, and the dumb shit that these students ended up involved in. Like, oh yeah, fucking Billy slammed his dick in a drawer again today. Or he would send me these just, when somebody sends you a video and it has no thumbnail and it's just a black abyss, and you could hit play and there's anything that could be on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's risky, man.
Yeah, like, you could fuck up your entire life clicking on something like that. Well, this is like 16 years ago, but he sends me this one video, and it was it was like real grainy footage of this guy. What would you call it? Like cliff diving.
Yeah.
And his head went right into like a sharp ass jagged rock. And they're pulling up the guy into an ambulance. This man's face was deleted. Like, this rock cut through him like a giant knife, and all you could see was like this dude's tongue in the back of like his throat, just moving and flapping around. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know why, but if I were a paramedic, I'd just have to end that man's life, because I don't know what kind of life you could have after that. He had no face; it was gone.
Christ, man.
Jesus.
I mean,
yeah,
shit happens like that. There was this guy on YouTube, like during COVID, right? Who started doing like top 10 fucked up films, right? Obviously very normie, had no idea what the fuck he was on about. Ooh, shocking, ooh, creepy. And he goes down that kind of like mixtape rabbit holes. Mixtapes are the worst
Yeah,
fucking
you
thing ever.
don't do that.
Dude, the major issue I have with these fucking mixtapes now, there is so much child porn, be it audio or
Yeah.
whatever, and the guys are like,
Oh yeah.
bro, I'm just edgy, dude. I swear, I'm not attracted to that shit. I just want to be fucking violent.
I just have a terabyte full of it for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fucking issue. We were
Yeah.
talking about this with Max. Like, dude, I will watch anything as long as it doesn't have children. I couldn't care
Yeah,
less.
I've never seen any personally, but
Yeah,
I've followed a lot of guys who do like predator catching, and I remember there was this one video where finally it showed one of the catchers like reactions to finally seeing some of it, and it's just like this. It's almost like somebody's taken a piece of your soul away from you when you finally see something like that.
dude, it's disgusting. Ugh. Bro, I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
even those pedophile catcher guys, some of them I don't trust because, legally, if those guys actually watch like that shit, they are just not as bad as the distributors, but they could literally get charged for watching it. Unless you're like, I don't know, a detective or police psychologist or whatever, you have no reason to be watching that shit.
well, a lot. So the way that the ruling goes here in the United States is if you encounter any of that stuff, you immediately report it.
Yeah.
Like that's the protocol. And for a lot of those guys, they do utilize police agencies, depending on which ones you watch. Like it can range from the more comedic ones like Gideon to the most like prevalent one is Alex Rosen of Predator Poachers, and he got arrested recently.
I'm not surprised, man. I mean, also, a
Well,
lot of these guys do fuck up the investigations for the police as well.
well, the thing that happened with him is like you do stuff like I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. He has the most catches of any of these guys, but I will go ahead and admit to you right now that no matter how noble somebody's intentions, there is something performative and also there is an aspect where you are trying to have something that's lucrative.
Dude, of course
Go on.
they need views. That's the only way they
Yeah.
make money. They need views. The police just about tolerate them, if not like outright despise them.
It depends on what state you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Here.
just saying in general, in that they don't help. They don't help investigations. They don't, because you remember what's his name, that Chris Hansen guy. So I actually looked up how many people did Chris Hansen actually get arrested. Surprisingly, the number was a lot fewer than you'd expect, because honeypots, entrapment, luring a man, whatever, all these things that just don't work. And then you realize some of these guys eventually they realize, oh, wait, it's just Chris Hansen. I can walk out the door. What the fuck is he gonna do?
Well, the thing is, that was the whole premise of that show, was the second that they did walk out the doors, they did have the police. That was the difference with Dateline with Chris Hansen, but Chris Hansen is a whole can of worms. Like that guy he's had his own type of issues, like tax problems and money problems, to where he's going to get, back onto that type of job, to where it does become more about being some type of form of entertainment.
I mean, dude, there probably are real pedophile hunters, but let me tell you this. They'll probably just snap one or two, necks, fucking hide the body and never fucking brag about it.
That would be, that seems to me more like somebody that would be like a parent.
Yeah.
There are a couple dudes who've done things like that. Like there was that guy that was the Alaskan Avenger.
Yes, that guy, dude. He used to sneak into their houses and everything because he had
Yeah,
actually been molested as a child.
and not only, and he was also a criminal, but he knew that they were kind of like a group that the police weren't going to give a shit about. And then there's also, what's that one fucking movie? The Snowtown Murders. That is a brutal fucking film if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't seen it.
You've never heard about it? This one takes place in Australia where initially so there's a family that have a whole bunch of it's this mother that has a whole bunch of kids, like, you know, a whole bunch of brothers. And initially, like, some of the children have been abused by some of the, like, perverts in the neighborhood where they are. Well, this guy shows up in their lives, and at first he seems like a good dude because he's kind of like protecting them from all of these pedophiles and stuff. Well, they start actually killing them, but the threshold for who they're going to kill starts getting lower and lower to where it's not just like pedophiles, but it's starting to be like anybody. And then eventually I think one of the brothers has to kill another brother of theirs. And it's a really dark fucking movie, and it took place in Australia. It's bleak as shit. But this was something that actually fucking happened, and the dude that was the guy behind all of it is a scary fucking dude. And the guy that who acted in the movie with that particular part was just knocked it out of the park because it was so fucking creepy. But yeah, no, that I guess getting back to the whole, I guess I wanted to bring up the Joe Franklin guy. First off, I guess because, like, of all places, a place that I never think about where metal could come from is like that band's from Las Vegas.
Mm.
Have you guys ever listened to that album?
I don't think so.
Reflections of the Solstice.
No, I haven't listened to it.
Huh. Great album. It's a really interesting album. It was one of those albums where they kind of like released it twice under Reflections of the Solstice and then Go Lord. I've heard I mean, obviously that's where I don't know if you know this. That's where Dark Throne got the name for the album.
Damn. Oh yeah. 1991. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, but sure, man. We've been going at this for like almost 3 hours now.
Yeah, no, I gotta go anyway too. This has been great.
Great.
I'll be on later. I've got to go take care of some stuff.
Yeah. No, thanks for everyone who followed, who was patient. Mac, you're back, and it looks like the next case is Dismember.
If anybody is interested in like guitar lessons or anything like that, just let me know, and I'll be sure to respond as quickly as I can. I do hope we still can get to the Slayer one though.
Yeah, definitely. We'll work on that. You know, we'll organize ourselves.
But I guess Dismember will be like really easy to bang out.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one, bro.
All right.
Thanks.
You too, man. I'm getting out of here. All right. Thanks, guys.
Eesh.